Hello friends, we're here with a new Rush Royale video. We will be talking about beginner decks. We have two decks and some variations. I hope it will help you guys. If you like these types of videos, please like or comment on my video, or even better, subscribe. Let's get into it. Next to the two decks, we will also be giving some lessons. They're basically pointers or tips, but I call them lessons for the dramatics. But let's just get started with our first deck. In our first deck, the main damage dealer will be Wind Archer. Yes, a unit that got changed a little bit in the last balance changes. Let's see how he will do in a beginner deck. Our Wind Archer will be supported by Executioner to finish them off a little bit quicker. We have the Priestess Mime combo for some extra mana, hopefully. And last but not least, we have Dryad, because I got it on my account here, on my alt account, which is nice. And I'll be using it just to level my units up a little bit quicker. Before we get into the deck, I want to give you the first lesson. No legendaries. What I mean is, I often see players, especially newer players, coming on Discord complaining about missing a certain legendary. Now, let's be reasonable. You're not going to get all the legendaries after 1, 2, 3 days of playing. You have to realize you are a beginner, so you kinda have to work for it, grind a little bit. But let's be honest, before 2, 3 or even 4k trophies, I don't think you need certain legendaries. There are a lot of different decks you can work with, and that's what I'm going to try and show you and maybe even teach you today. Now let's get into the deck. I'm using Wind Archer as my main damage dealer, like I explained earlier. I think he's doing fine. I have to admit, I'm playing around 4k trophies now, 3900 I think, and I'm reaching his limits. But for a beginner deck, it's a great unit to start with if you don't have all the necessary legendaries or other good units people claim to be good. So Wind Archer is definitely good enough to get a starting deck going. I have another video where I explain the beginner strategies, or the do's and the don'ts for the beginners. You can find it on my channel, and basically those strategies I'm also using with this deck and with the other decks in this video. I try to have a balanced deck, which I think I have, and I try to maintain my damage and outlast my opponent. What's important to take away from this game is I did not win it, but my opponent lost the game. I stayed calm and tried to maintain my damage even when I'm getting a little bit pressure right now. I just try and, keep it going. And my opponent is starting to feel the heat, and he starts merging his units with no real reason, I think. And he's getting a lot of pressure now, while I'm just relaxing and waiting for him to mess up even more. We're starting out a new game with another deck. We're still using Wind Archer as our main damage dealer, but we swapped out Priestess and Mime and added in Vampire and Chemist. Before continuing with this deck, let's give a second lesson. Our next pointer, it's work with what you have. The point I'm trying to make here is, when you start out, you all won't have the same cards. And I can't make a video about every single card combination out there. You need to adapt with what you have. Try things out. You might be thinking, because I'm using Dryad, this isn't a beginner video, or that card makes all the difference. Well, it's not. You can replace it with Bombardier or with Cold Mage easily. I used it to make this point. It dropped for me, so I try and incorporate it in my deck. And that's the deck I'm playing, with the cards I like or the cards I have. Now let's get back to our deck. We are using Vampire. The reason I switched is because I noticed Priestess and Mime weren't really giving me what I needed in this deck. So with Vampire, even with the nerf, it's still a really decent beginner card. I still think it's the best early game mana card in the game, and you can play a bit more relaxed, so I think that's important for a beginner. So if you don't know how to play without a mana card yet, or you don't have the right cards to do it, use Vampire. The second change we did was add Chemist to the deck. I did that to give my Wind Archer a little bit extra damage because I'm playing almost at 4k trophies, so I felt he was dropping off, so I wanted to give him a little bit more damage. So if you're earlier in the game, it's a solid choice and you will be able to do more damage than Wind Archer on its own is capable of. As always, I'm using the same tactics to try and maintain a steady pace in my damage. Right now Bedlam is coming to pay us a visit, and he will probably be messing up both our boards pretty nicely. So let's see what he brings. For me it's not too bad. I don't have the biggest board after this Bedlam, but you will see I'll have a pretty easy time to maintain my damage and have control over the wave of mobs that will be coming. As you see, they're going down pretty easy. Therefore, if you pay close attention, I am saving my mana. This is a good tip to keep in mind for later in the game. I don't know what's gonna happen, so if I have some extra mana, I can build a stronger board or I can use it to level up cards. Now let's see what will happen towards the end of this game. I'm playing a much stronger deck in theory, but I think he's got a bit too much of the good stuff going on. Thunderer and Ink and Hex all combined. It's all nice, but you have to be able to control it. And now he overmerged, he overplayed his hand a little bit, and me with my little noob deck, I'm simply keeping control, and he made the mistake of overmerging his hand and he's not getting the right combination. Let's move straight on to our next deck. This deck will contain Thunderer as main DPS unit. Thunderer has gotten a huge boost very recently. This made him a really good DPS unit, if not the best in the game at the moment. Before we go into detail about the deck, let's get our next tip out there. Play, play, play. What I mean is, guys, just play the game. If you're a beginner, if you're new to the game, it really does not matter. Do some research, watch a video, preferably one of mine, of course, but you know, just learn a little bit about the game, but play. You will learn the most by playing yourself and enjoying the game. If something doesn't work, switch out your deck and forget about that win rate. It does not matter. Just enjoy the game and play. You will learn the most like that. Now let's get into our deck. As I told you already, Thunderer, main DPS unit, best DPS unit in the game. You can have it from almost the start, but you can also see I am using Alchemist. Why on earth would I use Alchemist? Well, he got a little buff, so this gave me a reason to play him, to test him out a little bit. And I have to say, it's not the best unit out there, but it works. Let me remind you, I'm playing almost at 4k trophies with Alchemist, and it's just working fine. So he is definitely doing what he's supposed to do. Test him out, it's fun, you know, it's something else to play. We're all about fun, aren't we? By now you will probably have noticed a certain pattern. I'm using basically the same deck over and over. I just change out certain units, so I keep my balanced deck and I can play around with different units. You all can do that, and that was exactly the point of this video and my last video, the beginner strategy video. They kind of go hand in hand, so have a look at both and you can clearly see I'm using the same strategy over and over, and I honestly think it's the best beginner strategy out there. I will now leave you guys to it. I've said it all, I've said enough. It's time for you to enjoy the music, watch the last couple of minutes of this game. If you liked this video, please leave a like or a comment, or even subscribe. That would be much appreciated. Have a great day or evening, and hope to see you soon on the battlefield. If you like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe. That would help a lot. I hope to see you guys on the battlefield.